A maroon Tornado chugs out of the weed-plagued parking lot of a derelict factory. Leaving the brick building behind, the polished and buffed Tornado slowly pulls onto the empty road, cruises 20 feet, and turns down a sharp section of hill between other decaying brick buildings in the old manufacturing district. A gust of wind increases the smell of dust, mold, and decaying plant life. From behind a masonry trash bin enclosure, covered in peeling paint and crumbling mortar, bellows a voice, "Fire!" A hail of screaming lead erupts from both sides of the street, from the low end of the hill, firing in an upward direction. Positioned so as not to catch each other in crossfire, two teams of men, clad all in black, fill the Tornado with holes. The explosion and fury of crunching steel and exploding glass stun the ears of the attackers. The paint job looks like a crumpled paper Swiss cheese. A solo pigeon lights from the eave of a flat rooftop with a confused bubbling coo and the loss of several feathers. The vehicle careens right as the windshield disintegrates. It hops the sidewalk at a 45-degree angle. "Cease fire!" When the guns go silent, the front bumper hits the orange-red brick exterior of a defunct textile mill. The attack lasts precisely 7 seconds, as planned and as trained. The trash enclosure opens. A tall man with a thick field of blonde hair, neatly cut in a near-military fashion, steps out. He waves with his arm above his head in a chopping motion. The two teams of shooters stand from their positions and watch him, waiting for further direction. Agent Davis raises 3 fingers in the air and then points at the smoking vehicle. 4 men from the far side of the street hop from behind a short brick fence. They dash in a fireteam wedge formation to the Tornado. Davis fastens the middle button of his navy blue suit jacket across his swimmer's physique and walks to the car. He arrives just as the leader of the fireteam opens the driver's side door. A muscular man with gray-tinted brown skin and a shaved head falls sideways out of the driver's seat. Splashes of red cover his torso like rosettes on a cheetah. The team leader reaches in, turns off the ignition, and takes the keys. Agent Davis signals and indicates the passenger side. The other 2 men, with Kevlar vests and helmets, swing open the door. The passenger, smaller in frame and shorter in stature, but with typical skin color, slumps forward. He wears jeans, a thick black belt, and a green crew shirt adorned with the logo for Jameson Lumber. One of the men in black unbuckles the seatbelt and pulls the body onto the ground. The strike team frisks the dead men. They locate passports, cash, and driver's licenses for both. The papers found on the driver are new, except for a bullet hole and a sprinkle of blood on the passport. Trunk. Davis nods his head toward the rear of the vehicle. The 3 men in black circle around to the backside of the car. The leader inserts and turns the key. The trunk pops open. Inside, they find a suitcase filled with clothes, all in the size to fit the driver. Bundles of $100 bills fill a fourth of the case. A second case, silver and ribbed, reveals a sniper rifle, an M1911 pistol, and 40 rounds of ammunition for each weapon. "Paint the scene," Davis orders. The fireteam leader raises his right hand, makes hand signs, and points at some of the men, who then turn to the work assigned them. The other assault teams emerge from their cover and fast jog to the vehicle. A long black van squeals its tires as it rounds a corner further down the road from the engagement. The engine roars as it pulls alongside the bullet-filled Tornado. It stops roughly and the rear end bucks up. A side panel door slides open and more men in black gear kick a large black case to the edge of the van floor, into the space of the doorframe. The men transfer the contents from the trunk of the Tornado into the case. They toss the confiscated documents inside as well. Those men close the case, seal it with yellow tape, a crimped wire, and a signature card. They pull the trunk back into the van and push forward another case, this one silver. They open it and withdraw a few small items. They place a part-rusted MP5 automatic rifle and a small revolver onto the bodies. They put a bag of assorted narcotics into the back seat. They place a briefcase into the trunk, leave it open, and sprinkle it with cocaine. As the final touch, they tie black and gray bandanas around the foreheads of the 2 men. "These are the colors of a rival gang," the fireteam leader says, "from an adjacent town, coming here would make them targets. Davis walks around the front of the van and knocks on the passenger door. He signals with his hand, "Come out." The door opens. Out steps a man in the same unusual brown-colored skin as the dead driver. His height, build, and general level of fitness closely match that of the deceased man. Agent Davis takes the man by the elbow and leads him to stand over the driver's body. "Do you recognize this man?" The passenger from the van nods. "That's Vic. Even without most of his head, I recognize him." "Be sure, look again. See that thick scar above his left eye?" Davis nods. "Bloody Fang 322 gave him that wound when the two fought for first jumper 3 royales ago." Davis stares at the man. "He lost, obviously," the round man says. "It's not obvious to me. A man can be wounded and still win a fight. Happens every bout in boxing. To win without injury is uncommon. But Vic kept this scar to remind him of his loss and motivate his physical training and demon-pairing skills." "Kept his scar?" Davis pulls the man toward the open passenger door of the van. "We still have much to discuss. Before you store me in the van, I must remind you of our negotiation. I keep a wedding ritual. I want to see one of these, as you called it, a union between a man and a woman." "Get in the van." Agent Davis holds the door and implements encouragement in the form of a strong push. The man clambers into the seat. He buckles the seatbelt and turns to Davis with an upraised index finger. "One more question. Ask, what is boxing?" The door makes a solid metallic clap as the glass nearly hits the passenger's nose. First Jumper, Chapter 2. Number 1, Blood Reaper 13, also known as Vic. Number 2, Skull Crusher 39, called Sandeep. Number 4, Jeff Spicoli 322, called Bob. Number 7, Vladimir Putin 324, called Herb. Number 11, Cruel Revenge 216, known as Charles. Vic crosses his arms over his chest and half smirks. "You see, Sandeep, you cannot be number 1 until I've graduated and traveled before you." "The demons may favor me, Vic." Sandeep presses his face close in to Vic's. "Perhaps I'll cross that vanity scar of yours." He presses the thick scar that parts Vic's left eyebrow and pushes back his head. "Leave you here with an X to remember me." Vic remains calm. "Look again at the score matrix. Your top scores are in religion and memorization. Mine are in wrestling, shooting, and body hacking. First jumper test is Battle Royale. Anything can happen." "That's right, Sandeep." Vic slaps his thick hand onto Sandeep's shoulder and squeezes. "Anything can happen. So why don't we..." Sandeep steps past Vic with one leg and shoulder bumps him. Vic teeters over the leg, but he arches his back, finds the tiled floor of the hall with his hands, and completes a handspring back to his feet. "Respect," he says with a smile. "But we should collaborate tomorrow. Negotiate." Vic smiles. "We fight together. I weaken number 3 on the list. You come and break his leg. The lower ranks will attack other lower ranks to earn points for next month's ranking. We eliminate the top-ranked jumpers and fight each other last. Why should I trust you this Royale? You break number 3's leg tomorrow, and you'll hold a psychological advantage to win next Royale. I'll be waiting for you in the 1990s with a thermotainer of cold, clean water from a mountain spring." "Well, that does sound good." Sandeep smiles. "And give me your fruit piece from the evening meal." "I'd rather break all your ribs and crush your skull." Both men laugh. Vic grabs Sandeep's far shoulder and pulls him in tight against the side of his own rib cage. He starts walking them toward the mess hall of the Architects Guild corporate training facility. "Let's see what fruit they serve tonight." "It'll be apple fruit again. Always apple fruit." The men eat and retire to individual sleep and restoration spaces at 2100 hours. The corporation discourages friendships, and roommate situations tend to thwart that desire. Officially, however, every jumper trainee rates and deserves his own atmosphere-controlled space, a dedicated bed, a personal waste discharge bowl, and basic essentials conducive to healing sleep. Vic stretches his arms, and the multi-purpose threads of his combat singlet pull taut and accent the thick ridges of his shoulders. Glancing around the room, he catches 7th-ranked Vladimir eyeballing him. Noticed, the man redirects his line of sight. Vic continues scanning the room until he locks eyes with Sandeep, also in a sand-colored singlet. The men exchange subtle nods. The Combat Royale room constitutes a 6-sided polygon with foot-wide red lines painted from obtuse angle to obtuse angle, forming a hexagram on the floor. Various cubes occupy random irregular places. Bolts anchor them in position. The rules of Combat Royale disallow hand weapons, but the corner or edge of a solid cube provides sufficient opportunity for a jumper to demotivate an opponent. At 0430, the men assemble for the target brief. The wall of the training room transforms into a video display. Information and images appear. Target, Amanda Jacobs, Jehovite recruiter, responsible for 50 Jehovite epicenters in Malaysia. These delay full conversion of the region by 80 years. Any qualified jumper willing to accept this mission enter the hexagon. All the men enter. Vic's muscles remain cold, but the start whistle wails into the room and echoes across the walls. Only 4 minutes into the 1-hour negotiation time. Before the rebounding sound of the alarm fades completely, a frustrated groan from the far side of the room signals the elimination of number 19, Joe. Vic walks toward Sandeep. Around them, men climb cubes and throw their weight at other jumper contestants. Vic shakes Sandeep's hand. Change of plans, Vic says. Number 7 is watching me. He's plotting something. I left number 7 behind the 3-level pyramid, Sandeep says. Let's go break a leg. Shoulder to shoulder, they run across the hexagon and separate when they near the pyramid of cubes. Without voice or signal, Vic veers left. Sandeep goes right. They find number 7. He's not alone. Number 6 and number 8 flank him. We tapped your thoughts, Vic. We heard your negotiation and made one of our own. Won't help you, 7. Vic chooses a strategic position. His arm whips forward like a snake, grabs number 6's wrist, and pulls him. Flowing with the momentum, Vic grabs the man's arm like a pot handle and swings him completely overhead in a wide curve. The end of 6's arc ends on a cube corner. Mega slam! A crunch and a yelp of disappointment from number 6 elicit a smile from Vic. Sandeep and Vic worked together many times over the course of their training. They repeat this unity again today. They dispatch 7 and 8 like a pair of twice-used gym socks. They nod to each other and move as a duo around the pyramid. As they turn the corner, Charles, number 11, throws number 9 with a suplex. The landing breaks the man's neck. You'll have a higher rank next month, Vic says, but this is the end of this Royale for you. He laughs from his belly. I've killed you 32 times in Royales, Charles. Your top rank in negotiations keeps you in the top 20 jumpers, but you'll never win. You'll never jump. Charles knows the real number is 8. 8 painful, bone-crunching deaths and 37 other eliminations. Vic kills men the way wind ripples the surface of a lake. Charles assumes a crane-style fighting stance and glues his eyes on Vic. Then he relaxes. Vic, moving into demon style, notices the unusual reaction. Before he processes this information properly, a clap reverberates through his head as Sandeep slaps both hands on the sides of Vic's skull bone. Both eardrums shred. Pain rumbles through his head like an avalanche. All the sound in the room fades to a muffled, incomprehensible hum. Charles jogs off, seeking an easier opponent. Number 1 and number 2 grapple. The challenge goes about the usual time for a death grapple between 2 men in the top 5, about 3.5 minutes. Sandeep taxes Vic by breaking 4 fingers, but Vic breaks Sandeep's neck. Vic turns as technicians lift Charles with a grab plate and float him up. Charles grits his teeth and moans as the plate passes Vic and glides out of the hexagon. Vic roars, "Who remains?" Number 4 steps from behind a stack of 6 cubes. I believe we're last, but there's only 5 minutes left on the clock. What do you say we let time run out? You do that to Jefferson's arm? Number 4 slow nods. Think you can do that to me? I've been downloading new techniques. I practice them in the simulator. We'll see what I can do. Number 4 delivers a good fight. A well-executed flying press from the top of a cube gives Vic a moment of doubt. Not once, but twice. In the end, Vic uses his signature Mega Slam and breaks number 4's legs. Before finishing him, he breaks both 4's arms as well, because it pleases him to do so. Before the time of the evening meal, all the top 20 fighters from the Battle Royale stumble out of full submersion regeneration tanks. The hematopoietic waters and nanocatalysts repair breaks, tears, and dismemberments. The personal nanotech scaffold is able to buffer psychological damage to a limited degree, but the program allows psychological effects to remain. This trains you men for the world you will operate in, trainers tell them. There is no nanotech and no regeneration in the pre-Luciferian era. Men live only 120 years. Vic sits with Sandeep at the evening meal. With his fully restored hand, he cuts into a yellow-orange cube of meal complex number 6, centered on the food tray before him. If he'd ever tasted it, Vic would have compared the taste to lentils and ham, but he'd only experienced such things in info bundles, datasets transferred in a knotted stream, similar to a chromatid. You didn't keep the deal until the end, Vic says, so you won't be tasting my fruit. I never intended to keep that deal. You knew that. Sure, I knew. Vic spoons a hunk of food cube into his mouth. I lost focus for a moment, and you took advantage. The words churn around with the food. It's a move any one of us here would have taken. Respect. But no fruit for you. You know, Sandeep says. You're jumping tomorrow. Protocol requires 12 hours fasting before you travel. Vic points to the wall clock. I have 8 minutes. I'll finish this cube and every drop and seed of this fruit. Sandeep leans forward. In a whisper, he asks, You ever heard of a cherry? It's a myth. Vic shovels another wedge into his half-occupied mouth. Like Jehovah. Not like Jehovah. Sandeep sits back heavy. The silicone metal hybrid chair groans. Like banana or pear fruit. We've seen banana fruit. Vic lowers the hunk of cube on his spoon. His eyes drift upward as if recalling a romantic evening shared with a past lover. A smile lifts the corner of his eyes. Ah, banana fruit. The corporation achieved record profit. Fourth quarter 24-15, and we all got banana fruit. I remember. Cherry is real. I'll negotiate you valuable consideration in trade. Vic looks at the clock and then at the remaining portion of food cube. You trying to delay me so my apple will be up for trade? No, Jumper. I'm offering you my apple in consideration to form a contract. Your apple, Vic chews faster. What consideration you negotiate for? If cherries are real, you meet me when I travel and bring me 2 cherries. 1 fruit as security against a future of 2 fruits? Why would I risk that? I may never jump if I don't win a royale. You'll win next. You're better than the rest of this lot by far. If it weren't for me, you'd be first jumper today. And if cherries are myth, you owe me nothing. Vic, nodding, swallows. Negotiated. Prepare a file and I'll register my agreement. Not so fast, Vic. My apple today for 2 cherries in the past, not future. Ah, you caught my play. Then 1.5 cherries in the past. Of course, I noticed the subterfuge. Nobody speaks in terms of linear time. 2 cherries, firm. Give me the rest of your cube, and I will add 3 snozberries to the deal. Sandeep frowns. Now, snozberries, those are a myth. Fine, send the file to my account. I'll sign. Sandeep closes his eyes, almost 3 seconds, then opens them. You get it? Already signed and secured. Here's my apple. Sandeep lifts the fruit from his tray and places it beside Vic's. Skip the last hunk of cube if you plan on fully chewing both apples. Can't travel with fruit. Vic swallows the unchewed cube chunk and grimaces. He takes a swig of all water and then bites deep into Sandeep's apple. Sloppy negotiator, Vic thinks. Everyone knows there are only 6 kinds of fruits.